Good morning, dear children. So, for today's EVS class, I am going to take an activity from your textbook, and here the heading is given, Is it magic? So, this activity we will see how to perform and then the reason behind this activity. When Aisha woke up in the morning, Ammi had fever, Abu made some tea and went to give medicines to Ammi. He told Aisha, You boil eggs. Also put some salt in the water. Aisha took water in a pot. By mistake, she put too much salt in the water. She saw the eggs at the bottom of the pot come up a little and start to float in water. So this was one, all of a sudden, this experiment was performed by the Aisha. And today we are going to get or know the reason behind this. How could, after adding the salt to the water, the eggs started floating? Take some water in a glass, put a lemon in it. Now keep putting salt in the water, half a spoon at a time. Were you able to float your lemon in water? So some of you have performed this activity and shared with me also. And now we are going to read in this lecture the reason behind this. And what do you think the lemon floated in salty water? See children, in this activity where egg is possible, you can take egg also, or in case egg is not possible, you can perform this activity with the lemon also, and the reason behind this is the same in both the cases which we are going to discuss now. So here from the activity we can conclude that first of all we are putting the egg or the lemon in a fresh water. In the second glass we are taking salty water, and in the third glass we are taking salty water, putting the lemon and then keeping on adding the fresh water. So we kept on adding fresh water in the third glass. So from this experiment what we conclude? From this experiment, we understand that the egg sinks in fresh water but floats in salt water. So this is the first conclusion which we are getting from this. This happens because the weight of salt water increases due to presence of dissolved salts. So when we are adding the salt to the water, the weight of that complete water which is present in that glass, it is increased. In the third case, there is a difference between the weight of fresh water and salt water. This causes the egg to sink in fresh water but float in salt water, thereby keeping the egg afloat in the middle of the glass tumbler. Okay, so fresh water was on the top and the salt water was at the bottom. So slowly what happened? The egg was floating in the middle of that layer of both the water level. So from this experiment we can conclude that fresh water is lighter than salt water. Okay, so from here we have concluded that fresh water is lighter than salt water. Then some question will come to our mind, no? Why do these objects float while others sink? Because if the water is same, suppose there is fresh water only, or suppose there is salt water only, but some of the things are sinking in it and some of the things are floating. Now, what is the reason for this? Objects float because their weight is less than that of the liquid they are put into. Objects which sink are heavier than the liquids. Okay? And why is the weight of salt water more? Salt has dissolved in the water and hence the water weighs more. So these two questions are now clear to your mind. Then sink or float. We have seen few things sink in water while few others float. For example, if we put a nail in water, it sinks. Soap sinks in water. soap case floats in water, a plastic bowl floats in water. So these all experiments you have done also. Now what is the reason behind this? Okay, so here I want to show you there are two cubes you can see here on the screen, and we know all the matter is made up of molecules, whether it is solid, liquid or gas. And the difference is only that in the solids the molecules are very compactly, very tightly placed to each other. They are very close to each other. Whereas in the liquid they are little far apart. Now if we talk about the case of the gases, because they are all free flowing, no, so their molecules are very far apart. So this is the three states of the matter: solid, liquid and gas, and how the molecules are present in them. In the solid they are tightly placed close to each other, in the liquid they are little far, and in the gas they are very far. So here I am talking about what could be the reason. We all know that everything that is present is made up of tiny particles or molecules. In few objects, the particles are close together and are very tight, and in few others, the particles are loosely packed. The objects in which the particles are tightly packed are heavy and they sink, and the objects in which the particles are loosely packed have less weight and they float. Okay, so when we are going to compare the object, whichever is going to float or sink, we will come to know, we will understand. If the object is floating, that means its molecules are loosely packed, they are loose apart as compared to the liquid molecules in which it is floating. So liquid is also having the molecule and the object is also having the molecule. But if the object is having the molecule which are loosely packed, then its weight will be less as compared to the liquid, and so it is going to float. Just the opposite of this, if the object is having very tightly packed molecules, then the weight of that object will be more and the liquid's molecule is far apart as compared to the object, then such object is going to sink in that particular liquid. And here on the screen is the complete statement how you are going to write your answer, because such question can come in the form of give reason also. So hope you will be able to write now the answer properly. You can also draw the diagram, children, to explain your answer. Small diagrams are always welcomed, okay, in EVS and science. And here, let us now think about a huge ship. How does it float on water even though it is too huge and heavy? So here, children, we have already discussed about this, but today I want to tell you how to write the answer for this. So how does the sink and float work? When the ship or the boat moves in an ocean, it pushes the water aside. As the ship is too heavy, it gets pulled down by attraction force, and this attraction force is the gravitational force only, okay, by which the earth is pulling everything towards its center. This means that the ship should sink when it is pulled by the attractive force or downward force, but it does not happen. There is one more force that acts here, and this force is upward force. It pushes the ship from down to the upward side. Okay, so here is the answer, actually the statement and the sentence, how you are going to write your answer, explain your answer. Okay, I know that you all have understood the concept very well, but how to write in the exam, this is here in today's video. And here, see children, you can see ice is there, ice cube, and it is floating in water. So why does this ice cube float? though both the things are made of water only, no? One is in the solid form and the other one is in the liquid form. Ice cube is in the solid form and water is in the liquid form. So here is the explanation for this. When we put an ice cube in water, the ice cube moves some of the water so that it can make some way for itself. As a result, the level of the water increases and the ice partially floats on water. The attraction force or downward force is also pulling the ice cube down, but there is one more force which is acting from down and it is called the upward force. The upward force pushes the ice cube upwards. The weight of the ice cube will decide how much in or out the ice cube will stay in water. If the weight of the ice cube is more, it will sink, and if the weight of the ice cube is less, it will float. So all these experiments or all these examples are having the same answer. Okay, all these experiments are having the same answer. If an object floats, the upward force balances the force of attraction or the gravitation. When the object sinks, attractive force or the gravitational force wins. That means it is winning, and so it is making the object to sink. You can pause the video and read the answer also. Now coming to the salty water. We know in the oceans and seas the water is very salty. So this, and before showing this, before explaining about this, I will show you one picture also here, children. See, look at the man. He is floating on the Dead Sea and reading a newspaper. Isn't it looking like a magic? But I know it is not a magic, and you all now very much clear about the concept behind this also. And how to write the answer? Here is the sentences. Most of the water present on Earth's surface is salty. We find salty water in oceans, seas, etc. Oceans cover about 90% of Earth's surface. So, about 97% of water present on Earth is saline or salty. Ocean water is salty due to minerals washed out of rocks when it rains and the rushing rivers move with extreme force. One such important mineral found in the rock is sodium chloride or common salt. Salt water is heavier, and heavier the water, easier it is for objects to float. Salty water helps boats to float better than they would on fresh water. So this is also one thing new. The boats can sail easily on the salty water as compared to sail in a fresh water or the river water. So once again I am going to read out this to you. Most of the water present on Earth's surface is salty. We find salty water in oceans, seas, etc. Oceans cover about 90% of Earth's surface. So about 97% of water present on Earth is saline or salty. Ocean water is salty due to minerals washed out of rocks when it rains and the rushing rivers move with extreme force. One such important mineral found in the rock is sodium chloride or common salt, the salt which we eat, which we put in our food. Salt water is heavier. Heavier the water, easier it is for objects to float. Salt water helps boats to float better than they would on fresh water. So Israel's Dead Sea is too salty. The Dead Sea picture which I showed you just now, this is found in Israel and it is very salty. Fish in this sea die, but this sea is good for floating. So again we will see this picture and enjoy, and now your concept is completely clear for all the topics of this chapter. Thank you.